Let's talk with Noah Brown and what's it like not only for you to finally get activated on this active roster, but now meaningful snaps for this football team.
It feels good. That's what I'm here for, to have a win impact, and finally got back healthy, and I'm able to get out there and do that. So I'm excited.
So, I mean, back healthy on the active roster. You've been here for a while. I mean, is it just, all the hard work finally paying off for you?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I was having one of my best off seasons I've had, before I got hurt. And, it just feels good to, still be able to keep going, keep putting work in. And now I'm back activated and able to, showcase the work I put in.
Previous weeks, you've been active, and when you get out there, it's been a tell. You've been part of the running game.
Right.
So, this past week, you get out there, and now all of a sudden Washington bails out to stop the run because they see you in the game, and now you're out there catching passes, you're out there running routes. Right. I mean, is that something you take a lot of pride in?
Yeah, there's definitely something I take a lot of pride in. That's just always how I played football. Aggressive, and you want to make whoever's across from you feel pressure on every play, whether you're getting the ball or not. And I feel like blocking is a way to do that. And also, when you come in and you're able to be physical like that, now you're able to get open a little bit easier. So I think that everyone should play that way. And that's just how I play football.
You almost had that touchdown, huh?
Right. Yeah. We almost had that one, but there'll be more.
Yeah, that was one that they completely bailed out to stop the run. Somebody picked you up, but I mean, he didn't even believe that you were running around. You were just wide open across the formation.
Exactly. Yeah. We pray for plays to work like that. We got a couple good ones, and I'm confident there's more touchdown opportunities.
How much has this offense changed since somebody got here?
The offense has changed a lot. He's a playmaker. I wouldn't say it's changed in the fact that we're running anything different.
Cowboys fans, anybody else who is watching this, if you are a fan of a different football team, hello, how are you doing today? I want to do something real quick, okay? That right there is for our guys in Kansas City right now. Because the Kansas City Chiefs just released Kareem Hunt after seeing the video of what happened in the hotel room in February. I would like to applaud them for being out in front of this. Now, I'm going to read the statement that they gave Adam Schefter. Earlier this year, we were made aware of an incident involving running back Kareem Hunt. At the time, the National Football League and law enforcement initiated investigations into the issue. As part of our internal discussions with Kareem, several members of our management team spoke directly with him. Kareem was not truthful in those discussions. The video released today confirms that. We are releasing Kareem immediately. I checked this multiple times to make sure that this wasn't just some crazy that happens, because when things like this happen, people create, or people already have, fake Adam Schefter, fake Ian Rappaport accounts that put this information out there that is not truthful. This, absolutely truthful, and I cannot say that I disagree with what they did. I think that this is a message that the NFL needs to send to its players, because this is an issue that happens, and is it running rampant in the NFL? I can't say that. But is there a higher proportion because of the amount of testosterone in these athletes? These are the best of the best. They have it running through their veins. They are pumped up at all times. They play a violent game already. I believe that they need to do things in the NFL to help out these players, and especially help out the victims of violence. Now, that's the only bad thing, the only negative talk I'm going to have today. Because the Dallas Cowboys, if you were watching last night, beat the New Orleans Saints in a barn burner. Not really. It's 13-10, very low scoring. Not at all what I thought was going to happen. I did predict a win. With you guys on Wednesday, I predicted a win. Also, if you guys are not aware, if you are wondering where Showtime was today, Ari is about to be a father for the second time. Well, I guess he's still a father, but he is having his second child today, actually. If I have updates, I will give them to you, I believe, on Monday. I think he'll be back on Tuesday, but I'm sure that we will let you know ahead of time. I wanted to get into this. Not this that I'm showing you right now, because I'm not sure why that's up. What I wanted to show you and ask you is this. Can the Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott? Let me know what you think in the comments. Yes, I see on Facebook here, Robert says, we beat one of the best teams, so I'm doing fantastic. I agree with you. I'm doing fantastic as well. We switch over here to the America's Team page. See how many comments we got over here. We have 12. Let me get to them here. Dak could have lost us the game. Joel, yes, he could have. And I will get into that a little bit when we talk about can the Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. After it got released, yes, after the video got released is when they cut. Apparently, from what's being reported, neither the NFL nor the team had that video until today, which to me raises the question of, did they want to see the video? Because they obviously didn't. If they wanted to see the video, they could have very easily gotten it through a subpoena, through the hotel. Now, I don't know how long that would have taken. Maybe that's the direction that they went and it took this long to get back. But I feel like in this situation where it's a professional athlete involved, you would think that TMZ would try to get their hands on this video earlier. And why is it that TMZ dropped it? Why did TMZ release it before the NFL or the team saw it? That's a question. They didn't want to see it. You're right. Skins will sign him, Frankie. Yeah, they've shown. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how the Cowboys pick up criminals, but I think that the Redskins are kind of in that mold right now. They saw it in February. Brian said that. They're saying that they didn't see the video in February. They knew about the incident in February. Frankie also asked, how about them Cowboys? Love that defense. So do I. I'm going to talk about that later. Absolutely, they can win. O-line needs a tweak. Frankie said that. Something I will get into at the end of this is the O-line and some of the guys that are coming back. Ricky Hernandez is probably not. We'll find out. Elias says, I believe Dak can. Here's what I think, okay? I believe that they can win this Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. Now, do I believe that they can win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott the way that the offense is currently constructed? That's a different question. We've seen this offense put up 40 points. We've seen the offense score points before. My issue is if they need to, can they? If the defense has one off game, and that's all it takes against some of these offenses, if they have to play the Rams, if they have to play the Saints in the playoffs, what is that going to look like? Are they going to be able to keep up in that environment away from your home crowd? I know that the Rams don't have a huge home field advantage anyways, but you best believe the Saints do. How will the offense perform there? How will the defense be able to perform there? Because Drew Brees had an off game. I mean, let's just be real about that. He had an off game. Now, that was partially because of the way that the defense played. They were flying around. But they were good. Now, with Dak, back to this, you know, with can you win a Super Bowl with him? You absolutely can. Look at some of the quarterbacks that have Super Bowls. Nick Foles just won one. I don't think Nick Foles is as good a quarterback or he'd be starting somewhere. That's just the way that it is. I think that they can. I think that the offense needs to change up just a little bit. It doesn't need to get too crazy. You still want to control clock. You want to march down the field methodically. You're going to take shots when you take shots. But that's not the type of quarterback that Dak Prescott is. Now, this also goes to, can you win a Super Bowl with him? Will he improve? And that's my thinking on it. If he is able to improve, you absolutely can, because that takes away some of, the mechanical issues he has. He becomes more consistent, especially when he is throwing the ball downfield. And that's a recipe that you can win with. If you are able to throw the football and still run it as well. If you have Amari Cooper getting open, if you have Michael Gallup beating guys downfield, and Dak is consistently able to put a ball in a place where they can catch it, then absolutely you can win a Super Bowl with him. Now, another thing, something that I saw yesterday when I was watching the All-22, is Dak Prescott is getting rid of the ball a little bit earlier at times when he trusts what he sees. There's a play where Michael Gallup runs a deep out route in the first series, and Dak is getting pressure. Nobody is blocking. There's an unblocked man on his backside. And he sees the pressure, he feels it, and he gets rid of the ball early. He throws it to a spot, and he hits Michael Gallup, who goes full extension and catches the pass. I mean, it was a beautiful catch. It was a beautiful throw. One of the best balls I've seen Dak throw, because it was thrown with anticipation, which is something that you do not consistently see. I mean, you rarely ever see with Dak Prescott. If he continues to get this rapport with these receivers, with Gallup and with Amari Cooper, depending on what happens with Cole Beasley, he already has that rapport with him. I don't know if he'll get re-signed or not. With all the other guys that the Cowboys need to re-sign, and with the dip in his production over these last few weeks, I don't know if he comes back next year, or if he takes not a pay cut, but doesn't get a huge extension like he wants. We might be able to see them, and then you might see him continue to get the ball out quicker. Now, my issue is, and there's a play that I put on Twitter, you can follow me at Cowboys_DVM, that I put up where he literally is off the ground with both feet when he hits the apex of his drop. And it was the throw that he threw to Cole Beasley. It was a checked play. They were in a soft zone, and Cole Beasley runs a hitch route, and the ball is nowhere close. Well, when he got to the apex, he literally picked both feet up off of the ground and levitated. And then when he set his feet, then he turned and threw right off of that. And it was just one of the weirdest. And you see that sometimes when he throws the football, is he'll come off of both feet. And when you do that, you're not allowed to get that trunk rotation with your back hip around, so you lose velocity on your throws. And that's something that you don't want to see with him, because he already doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. He has enough arm to get the job done, but it's not huge. I'm looking at the Pac-12 game right now, Washington, Utah, and it looks like somebody who has an even weaker arm, Washington's quarterback, has a parachute on his throws, because he can barely get the ball out there. And he was at one time QB1. He put up a bunch of numbers, and people liked him because of that. But it's a 0-0 game in the Pac-12, so I'm kind of worried. Dak needs a better QB coach, Braxton Gonzalez says. Okay, so for everything that I'm told about the NFL, there's not a lot of technical work at that level. It's more play installation and scheme stuff. I am told that these QBs go to coaches in the off season to work. Most of them do. Now, I don't know who Dak has been working with, or if he's been working with somebody, or if Scott Linehan is giving him things to work on in the offseason. But I think he needs to go see somebody other than someone in the organization, because whoever is talking to him in the organization is feeding him straight lies. Because what he is doing right now from a mechanical standpoint is not good enough. It is not going to get it done. He will not ever be consistent enough to be a top 10 quarterback. He has the physical ability to do it, but unless he gets ready, sets his feet, hits that back foot, plants, goes right away, he will not be a top 10 quarterback. And if you're not a top 10 quarterback in the league, I don't want to pay you any type of substantial money, even when you can make plays with your legs. Now, that's another thing I would like to talk about is when you get into the red zone, and this is something that they didn't do last night, is they did not use Dak Prescott's legs. Whenever you get into the red zone, you should design actual QB runs. The best time to run the ball with the quarterback, spread guys out, get into real wide splits with your wide receivers, get them all the way out past the numbers, motion out your running back, and then run a QB draw. He's 240 pounds, and we saw what he could do on that 3rd and 10 that he picked up last night. The dude's got wheels. Dak needs a better QB coach. It's possible that the Cowboys can win a Super Bowl with Dak. I'm concerned about our O-line and him being more accurate throwing to his receivers. This is all from Kendrick Gabriel. We have to improve, or we have improved since acquiring Cooper. Absolutely. People want, this is from Patrick Kahn. People want Dak to get a QB coach. Linehan has squashed that. Yeah, that can't happen. I believe that Linehan is going to be gone at the end of the season. I believe that he should be gone by the end of the season. We'll see how that goes. CBA doesn't allow the time they need. Absolutely, I agree with that. He works with Tom House. Thank you, Patrick Kahn. I think he needs to see somebody else because it's not working. Now, if you don't mind, grab a drink. Miller Lite, the official beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, if you would like to sponsor Phantom. Look at this face. Look at this beer. They should be together. Now, the next thing that I would like to talk about is how many blue chip players are on this roster. How many guys, not quite, the elite of the elite, but who are the guys that are top 10 at their position? Positions where there's less players, the running backs, such like that, top 5. Who are those players that you can count week in, week out are going to perform? How many guys on this football team do you believe there are? Because I believe that there are 7. There are 7 blue chip players on this team. There are possibly more, possibly less. This is a very subjective conversation that we're having. We don't know what the qualifiers are. I can try to get as specific as possible. I'm just going to, it's kind of a gut thing. Cowboys had 5 off games, and look at them now. Jamie Tofar, I like that. They had 5 off games. They are obviously a different team than they were before the trade deadline, before they got Cooper, before that bye week. That the firing of Paul Alexander has helped the offensive line. Now, they're beat up right now, and they were facing a good defensive line that the Saints have. So I don't really, I'm not too worried about the offensive line as long as Tyron is able to come back, as long as Zach Martin is able to get a bit more healthy throughout the season, and Xavier Su'a-Filo, who did not play real well. But the blue chip players that I believe the Dallas Cowboys have on the roster, Terrence Briscoe says, hashtag everybody. Here's what I believe. I believe Tyron Smith is a blue chip player. Zach Martin is a blue chip player. Amari Cooper is a blue chip player. Ezekiel Elliott is a blue chip player. Tank Lawrence is a blue chip player. LVE is a blue chip player. And Byron Jones is a blue chip player. That gives you 4 on the offense and 3 on the defense. That gives you 1 guy on each level of the defense. Now, that's good. That's where you start to build. And if you look at that, look at the ages of these players. I don't believe a single one of them, other than possibly Tank Lawrence, is over the age of 26, 27? A Tyron might be. I would have to look that up. But I think he's still pretty young. That's amazing. I mean, that's young, good players. That's something that you can build off of. If you can keep them on your roster and build around that, that is a good nucleus of guys that you can build around. You're really just looking at missing that elite type quarterback or that elite scheme to get the quarterback over the edge. Look at what Matt Nagy has been able to do with the Chicago Bears and that offense. Look at what he's been able to do with Mitch Trubisky, who is also, and I know he's sneaky athletic, but he is athletic, and that's something that was very highly touted of him coming out of school. You wouldn't think about it because he's a bigger white quarterback, but the dude can move. Let's see here. Terrence asks, if you don't mind me asking, what position did you play in football? Terrence, I was a quarterback, outside linebacker, and I played a little bit of safety when we went into nickel formations. I was like kind of the strong safety in that situation. What about the blue chip players that's in the making? Oh, yes. Yes. Steven. Sean Lee is absolutely a blue chip player. He's not on the field right now, which is why I forgot him. And I know some of those other guys aren't. There's a reason why I also did not add Travis Frederick, because he obviously isn't playing. When Sean Lee comes back, he's absolutely a blue chip player. He is still the second best, possibly even the first best. Like, listen, LVE's been great, and I'll get to that when I start talking about the defense a little bit more. But LVE, I believe, is a blue chip player. The dude, it might just be the second coming of Brian Urlacher. His size, speed, change of direction ability, his length is his biggest weapon. If he gets his paws on you, you're going down. And something that I've seen this year from him that wasn't really in his film, he was kind of a quiet guy, but he's got a little bit of swagger to him now. That wolf call that he does, that's big time. And, you know, somebody said it on 105.3 The Fan today with him and Jalen. What was the nickname for them that they came up with? Oh, Van Jalen, off of Van Halen. The nickname for the linebacker knew. Here's a question that I asked on Twitter. Lee, Smith, Van Der Esch. Has there ever been a better off-ball linebacker trio in the NFL? Ever? Talent-wise. We obviously need to see them all on the field. But that doesn't count the Von Millers, your DeMarcus Wares, those 3-4 outside linebackers, they don't count. I'm talking about 3 off-ball linebackers. Has there ever been a better trio? Now, let's talk about these blue chip players. I bring this up because Daniel Jeremiah made up a checklist of what you need to build a roster in the NFL. It was 2 pass rushers, 3 offensive playmakers, 3 defensive playmakers, 3 quality offensive linemen, and a quarterback. How many of those do the Dallas Cowboys have? Yeah, Brian, Van Jalen is nice. Braxton says it might be time to cut Lee. I think that's a terrible idea. Not because I think that he is something that we can't live without on the field, but because you want to have Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch continue to sponge off of Sean Lee, who is one of the most brilliant football players that has literally ever played in this game. Not many people prepare like him, and not many people have the mental capacity to prepare the way that he does. He is a freak when it comes to that. So what I would like for them to do is him either take a pay cut or at the end of the season retire and immediately come in as the linebacker coach. Jake Browning trying to be athletic in this Washington game is making me laugh. But we know about the other blue chippers. Do you guys think that Amari Cooper is a blue chip player? Because there's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of good wide receivers in this league. Where in the rankings would you have him? Is he top 10? Is he top 15? Do you have him, possibly in the top 5? How do you feel about Amari Cooper at this point? I think he's a blue chip player. I think he's probably, from a talent standpoint, one of the top 10 wide receivers in the league, just from a size, speed, route running ability. If he can continue to reel balls in, not drop easy catches, and not fumble the ball last night. You can't hold the ball like a loaf of bread. I know that was kind of weird. people were talking about the replay. I didn't get to see the replay because I was broadcasting at the time, but apparently it was right in his face and he like couldn't reach his arms out or something. But that was pretty interesting. How do you take LVE off the field, Brian? I don't think that you do. Well, here's what should happen is Jalen and LVE should start. When you go into your base, when you have 3 linebackers on the field, when they get into heavier personnels, you bring Sean Lee in, then you put Leighton Vander Esch at the Mike, you put Jalen Smith at the Sam, and you put Sean Lee at the Will when you're in base set. So that means that most of the time you have Jalen Smith setting the edge, making sure nothing gets on the outside, or blitzing in a lot of these situations. That's something that he is very good at. And then the only other time you get Sean Lee into the game is when one of those 2 guys needs a breath. That's the best thing about this situation with him getting healthy again, is that he can keep the defense fresh, especially at linebacker, because it doesn't matter if those dudes are 21, 22, 23 years old. In sustained drives, those guys get tired. It's a physical game. So having him to spell, instead of having to have them play 100% of the snaps, instead of having Damian Wilson come in and possibly have to be in coverage, you don't want that. Damian Wilson is a good player against the run. You don't want him covering anybody in man situations. He's one of the best route runners, which Dak needs. Exactly, Braxton. I believe that Amari Cooper is a perfect fit for this offense. That's what I like about what they did here, is they picked the right kind of player. They tried to sign Sammy Watkins in the offseason for a ton of money, and that would have been a terrible fit because he's a worse Dez Bryant type of player. Dez Bryant still probably better than Sammy Watkins. Maybe not, but Sammy for $16 million would have been a ripoff, quite frankly. He's played in some very good offenses in recent years and really not been able to do a whole lot. So it was nice that didn't work out and they were able to get Amari because of it. Now, can the offense keep up enough down the stretch? Can they start to score some more points? Because something that I am very worried about is when they get into the red zone. Things don't seem to go very well. Cooper does more separation than other receivers. Dak for a while was always throwing into tight coverage. Gary Frazier says that. Gary, I agree with you. The one thing with Dak is sometimes he creates those tight windows because he waits too long to throw the football. I do agree with you that Amari Cooper gets better separation than even Cole Beasley does for the most part. And that's kind of because Amari Cooper can be a little bit more physical and use his body to create better separation in tighter areas. But that's neither here nor there. Colts could be our next loss, Brian says. I'm going to get to the rest of the schedule a little bit later, so I will come back to that, I promise. But back to the offense. They need to use Dak's legs more. Because when you have a 240-pound quarterback, when you saw what he could do on that 3rd and 10, where he can break tackles, get away from guys, and you can set up things to do this. All you need to do, get in a 2x2. Tight end, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, Zeke in the backfield. You're in shotgun. You motion the outside receiver on the tight end side over early in the play clock. You figure out if it's man or zone. Off of that, does the corner travel with him? If he does, you leave him over there. That means there's less defenders on that side of the football. Then you run zone read. It's pretty simple. There's less guys over there. You're leaving a guy unblocked. So that means everybody on that side of the field, unless they are heavy on that side of the field, is covered for. Everybody is accounted for. So you should be able to do whatever you want. Now, if they are heavy, then you can hand the ball off. It's just a straight give. and you have numbers on the backside of the play. There are ways that you can get this run game going a little bit better than they did against the Saints. I know that they wanted to pound the football, but they could have been more efficient with it. Because Ezekiel Elliott did not have a huge game on the ground. He did not have a good yards per carry. He did not break off a bunch of big runs. The offensive line is busted right now. And if Tyron Smith is able to come back and be healthy, that's going to be a big boost. If Xavier Su'a-Filo can get back to being 100% healthy, that'll be a boost to what he was this week. If he has another bad game, put the rookie back in. Because you would rather him get snaps. Xavier Su'a-Filo is not your long-term solution. He was a stopgap for a guy who was hurt. He had one good game, one okay game, and has not played well recently. There's a reason why he was not on a football team. There just is. And I think that we got too punch drunk. Like, we fell in love with him right away because he did have a good game. We have to remember that we spent the 50th pick in the NFL draft on a player from Texas who should be playing right now, in my opinion. I don't know if they'll do that, but I think you have to learn with the rookie. You have to build a little bit of continuity on the offensive line. Tyron coming back could be huge for it. There are still things that I think that this offense needs to do better. Like I said, their red zone offense is not good. It's just bad. And the reason yesterday, that first drive where they had to kick the field goal, Dak Prescott on, I believe it was third down, did a really good job of spinning out of what should have been a sack and then throwing the ball out of the back of the end zone. That's something that I believe he has to do more of, because he has taken sacks in that situation, and once you take a sack in the red zone like that, inside the 5, like if the ball is inside the 5, you cannot be taking sacks, because that makes things that much more difficult to pick up because you're already in a confined space. You can't run the ball now from 3rd and 7 from the 8-yard line unless you plan on going for it on 4th down. So you want to see a better offense in that situation, and part of it is that first run that Zeke had. I don't know exactly what his read was on that run, but he had a little bit of a lane and he didn't take it, which is something that you don't like to see. He kind of bounced it a little bit too early, and I wish he wouldn't have done that, because it was him and Eli Apple in the hole who he had already ran over once. So I think he should have stayed in there, but he bounced it, tried to win around the edge, and it didn't quite work out. House also works with Brady in the offseason, Patrick says. Here's the thing, Patrick. Tom Brady is a system quarterback. There, I said it. Fight me. O-line, no Tyron. His ball security wants me to get the ball out of Dak's hands for too long. Yeah, his ball security is an issue, and that's something that we saw late in the game last night, and that's something that can't happen. This team is not built to turn the ball over and still be able to win. I could not believe that the Saints were not able to take advantage of this defense, of this offense, getting a turnover, getting 2 turnovers, getting one on the Cowboys side of the field and not scoring. That was a huge stop for the defense, and that set the tone for the rest of the game. That was the moment that the defense punched them in the mouth, and that's nice, because I think that we're going to get into the defense here. And my question is, that is not my question. I don't know why that is up there. Can the Cowboys defense stop the Saints offense? Yeah, that question has already been answered. What I meant to say is the Cowboys defense elite? Is it time to start saying that it is elite. Because we've been beating around the bush a little bit. They don't get turnovers. Okay? They give up some passing yards. I think that this is an elite defense at this point. And, I mean, some of the numbers don't really bear it out. But I believe that their situational defense is very, very good. Now, the Cowboys are 6th in the league at points per drive against. And this was after last week, so it's probably going to get a little bit better because they only gave up 10 points to the Saints. But from a normal, metric here, the defense gives up a pretty astonishing... Hold on here while my computer loads. They give up 20 points per game. What is going on? Not good. The Arizona Cardinals and Buffalo Bills are definitely not only giving up 14. This is giving me offensive stats right now. Even though it was set up for the defense, which is great. That's what I like to see. Here we go. The Cowboys give up 18.6 points per game. That's second to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Cowboys don't get a lot of turnovers, and their yards per play average is a little bit higher. It is at 5.3, which is only good for about mid-tier in the league. It is better than that. It is tied for 7th with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we put 40 up on. So their defense is obviously still pretty good, and I think that our defense is really good. Like I said, I think it's elite, and I believe that it's elite because you do have playmakers at all 3 levels. And getting back to Daniel Jeremiah's list here, 2 pass rushers. Randy Gregory's get-off is phenomenal. Now, I think that he still just needs to continue playing football. I think that he will get there eventually. Now, I don't know if he'll ever be considered elite. He has some elite traits, especially when it comes to being a right defensive end. He had some boneheaded plays, and that's something that this defense cannot have. To be able to come out and win that game with some of the mistakes that were made. I mean, you got this offense all for the field to punt the ball, and then Randy Gregory goes and runs into the punter. Roughing. And although I don't really believe that it's I don't believe it's all his fault because he was stumbling the entire way there. I don't know if he could have spun out of it or not, or rolled out of it or not. It looked like he was trying to gain his composure and just couldn't, but he wasn't supposed to be rushing anyways. They were setting up for the block there. They know that team is aggressive. It's 4th and 3. He had a man there, and to make that mistake, you just really can't do it. Now, I'm tired of saying it. Terrence says, we got the best defense in the league. I really like that Chicago Bears defense. I think that the pass rush is just a little bit better. I believe that we are either the first defense or the second defense in the league. I do believe that. Now, when we get 2 sacks, we're going to look at here. The Pittsburgh Steelers have the most. And then, actually, the Chicago Bears have 34 in 11 games. The Cowboys have 33 in 12 games. And I think that's kind of the difference. The difference is Khalil Mack getting to the quarterback and getting those strip sacks. The Chicago Bears have forced 16 fumbles. The Dallas Cowboys have forced 10 fumbles. The Dallas Cowboys only have 8 interceptions. The Chicago Bears have 20. We can talk about this defense being elite. We can talk about it being good. It's not the best. It's second best, maybe, but it's not the best. The Bears are on a slightly different level. They give up a few more points per game, but they also run a more up-tempo offense. That there aren't a ton of drives against your Dallas Cowboys, and that's what I'm saying. This Cowboys team gives up, a higher yards per play average than some of these other top defenses, and that's just the way that it is. Now, the run defense is phenomenal, and that's partially because of Tank Lawrence, but it's not number one. But that does not mean that it is not elite, because I believe that it is an elite defense. Now, are the Cowboys going to win the NFC East? I assume, since you guys are all here and listening, you believe that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. First of all, Jesse says, keep third down stops going. They absolutely need to do that, and that's something that I was really impressed with them last night, is they continuously got that offense off of the field, which is something that in the Titans game we did not see. Now, it looks like the attitude has been adjusted a little bit. It looks like that Titans game might have been a little bit of a wake-up for this defense, and I think that Tank Lawrence becoming a little bit more vocal on the defense is paying dividends, because when your best player is your leader, he pushes everybody to be as good as he is. And like Terrence says, we young just watch. I agree with that. This is an extremely, extremely young defense. And that's what's exciting. This is not just an extremely young defense. This is an extremely young football team. It is the second youngest football team in the league, behind the Cleveland Browns, who have 80,000 draft picks every year. So they should be the youngest. Face mask, the punter, and the offsides. The roughing the punter, Brian, should have been a roughing the punter. What did I say? Is the it says are the Cowboy. Let me see what this said here. Let's see if I had a typo here. That's supposed to say, is the Cowboys defense elite? Johnny, I apologize for that typo there. I'm a journalism major, if you could believe it. I did that on the fly because I messed up. I was supposed to fix that before all this happened. I thought I did. Turns out I did not. The face mask should have definitely been called on Dak. The referees last night, Walt Anderson's crew was pathetic. They were absolutely atrocious, and they were bad for both teams. Now, you heard the Saints fans saying that the game was rigged, that Byron Jones was holding Michael Thomas the entire game. That's crap. He was locking Michael Thomas down. Michael Thomas pushes off more than any receiver that I have seen in the league. Byron Jones just wasn't having any of it. That's all it was. Byron Jones was being a little bit physical for once, and it worked. We want to talk about Byron Jones possibly being the best corner in the league? We can have that discussion. Dak is not back. We won despite of him. He needs to learn how to release the ball, not fumble, and clock management. Would you like me to go on? Because I could. Luis, you can go on if you want to. I'm not going to disagree with you on Dak Prescott. I'm saying that you can do things to help him mitigate those issues. And Dak Prescott has the most fumbles in the league. Dak Prescott has had a couple balls literally just fall out of his hands this year. It's a problem. I'm not going to sit here and say it isn't. But this is a Friday after a win against the best team in the NFL. I'm going to just be happy tonight. That's what I'm here for. On Monday, I'll get critical. On Wednesday, I'll be more critical. And on Friday, I'm going to be tearing this team apart before we play the Philadelphia Eagles, because we need to win this game. So, Luis, if you want to go on, you can. Are the Cowboys going to win the NFC East? Let's get into this now. Yes, the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. They're going to be division winners. The Cowboys have the Eagles, Colts, Bucks, and Giants left. Realistically, they should win 3 of those 4 football games. Realistically, with the way that they're playing right now, they should win all 4 of those football games. But the Colts have been playing out of their minds. The Colts have a very good rookie linebacker as well in Darius Leonard. I don't believe he's as good as LVE is, but there are many people that believe that he is playing as well. I think that he's put up better statistics because he played more, because LVE was not starting to begin the year. I believe that LVE is the defensive rookie of the year behind Derwin James, who is just absolutely balled out. But there's a lot of good defensive players. We're lucky not to have 20 fumbles. I don't know if... Whoa, coaching. Steven, we're talking about coaching. What's up? You're talking about Romo. What are you talking about Romo? Explain, Steven. Are we talking about bringing Romo back as a coach? I want to hear that. Let's talk about it. You're talking about Romo as a coach. Because it ain't going to happen. He's got a cush job. He gets to play as much golf as he wants. I've been out on the golf course with him. The dude is happy. He ain't leaving that. He ain't leaving the money. He's not leaving his family who is growing right now. Maybe when the kids grow up and they're out of the house, maybe then he'll coach. Maybe then he'll get the itch. But for now, he is one of the best analysts in the game. He is being paid very well to do it. And he is able to chase his dream being a professional golfer. He ain't leaving that. Now, let's talk about this. The Eagles. Brian says the Eagles are doo-doo. The Eagles' secondary is atrocious. Completely torn through. Their schedule looks like this. They have the Redskins on Monday night. We want the Eagles to win that game because we want the Cowboys to be able to control their own destiny. We also want the Eagles to win that game because then they have us the week after. They still have to play the Rams, Texans, and then the Redskins again. I don't like their chances against the Cowboys, obviously. I definitely don't like their chances against the Rams. And the Texans haven't lost in 9 games. They've won their last 8. I don't see the Eagles winning another 2 football games. Well, unless they beat the Redskins twice. But Eagles, done. Redskins have an easy schedule, but the Redskins are depleted. They have the Giants, Jaguars, Titans, and then the Eagles. They have 5 games. I think they'll probably end up splitting with the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams are beat up. One has a good defense. One has a better offense. One will win out each time. It's divisional games. It's usually just what happens. I think that the Redskins could go out and lay a turd against the Giants. And then the Jaguars and Titans. Listen, if the Cowboys come out, handle their business, and win at least 2 of the last 4 games, I think they'll win the division. Now, now that that's all been said, let's get into the health of this team. How good can this team be with everybody coming back? Steven's saying, okay, and are we still talking about Romo? I mean, we can have that pipe dream. I'm just saying, like, and I don't say all this to be an asshole or to kill anybody's dreams. Like, it's wasted energy. What I would like everybody to do is go out and do a little bit of research on some of these offensive coordinators, because we talk about Romo. Romo didn't help Dak. If you want to hire anybody as your offensive coordinator, your QB coach, make it Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez is the one that was in his ear the entire time. Romo was trying to win his job back. Romo was rehabbing. Romo had, not saying that he had nothing to do with it, but he had very little to do with Dak Prescott's progression in his rookie season. There are other offensive coordinators out there that have the resume to be the offensive coordinator here in Dallas. Tony doesn't. Now, Eagles are done. Steven, I agree with that. How good can this team be with everybody coming back? They have Sean Lee coming back. They have Tyron hopefully coming back. Stinger out for a little while. Kind of worrisome, honestly. I would like to see him come back and be healthy. And then David Irving, maybe? Taco is back. He only played 4 snaps, I believe, in this past game. But you need that health. You need guys to just get a little bit less beat up. Malik Collins was injured this past week. He played, but you also have Tavon Austin, who will hopefully be able to come back for the stretch run here. That's another level to your offense that can add points because he's a gadget guy, yes. He will not take a ton of snaps. He might get 20 a game. But you put him in motion, and the defense has to respect that. You put him in a jet motion that opens up the run game for Ezekiel Elliott even more. Jordan Lewis, for as much as I love him and as much as I want him to be playing more defense, he does not strike the fear in a defense that Tavon Austin does. And then you have guys like Malik Collins, who is still banged up. Hopefully that knee can continue to get better. David Irving, like I said, I don't know if the guy's going to be back or not. I don't know. He's a flake. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you just cannot count on him to be there for you. And, you know, it's really unfortunate that that's the case because you wouldn't think that it is. You would think that somebody in a contract year would want to be out and want to be playing and want to try to make money. But he just doesn't seem to want to do it. He's having off-field issues, and I understand that. And I, more than most people, more than most fans, are going to have more compassion for that. Why do I have more compassion for that? I don't know. I just do. I got a soft spot for people. It's something that has shown up for me with age. Because I didn't used to be like that. But the older I get, the more I feel like giving people a bigger chance. I believe that he still deserves a chance. He is still he is a blue chip player when he is on the field. The dude had 8 sacks last year. He's a freak. But you can't give him money. Can't count on him to be on the field. Hopefully he gets back. If he gets back, this defense goes to an even higher level. This defense, with David Irving healthy and playing well, is better than the Bears' defense. It does get to the quarterback quicker because then you get pressure in the face of the defense. You have him, Malik Collins, and Antoine Woods there in the middle. That's a good defensive line. And then you have Randy Gregory, Dorrance Armstrong, Tank Lawrence. You have depth at the defensive line to rotate guys in, keep them fresh. Longer drives, offensive line starts to get tired. Start getting pressure. Get a strip sack. Last night it happened. Then they called that bullshit offsides. So, what I'm trying to say here is this team, for as good as it's playing, and listen, there was 15 guys on the Cowboys injury report. There were 2, 4, 6, there were 7 on the Saints injury report. And all of them were practicing in full by the end of the week except for Teron Armstead. They had one person out in that last game. And you beat them. Held them to 10 points. And this offense got to get it going. But they scored 13 points. They could have scored more points in that first half. They were not trying to drive up. They were trying to just get yards, get points. It wasn't get points anyway necessary. It was control the clock. They had the ball for 22 minutes in the first half. It's incredible. That won you the game. That first half won you the game. Oh. Let's get back to a couple of these comments before the end here. I will be back on Monday. Same time, same place. Let's see here. Steven says, Kellen Moore. I don't care about Kellen Moore. You want to bring in another quarterback coach? I'm fine with that. I still want to fire the offensive coordinator. What I'm trying to say is that offensive coordinator is not going to be Tony Romo. There are other guys. I don't care if... Listen, I don't care if we win the Super Bowl. Scott Linehan should not be the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys come 2019. Because he has shown for 3 years now that he cannot mold an offense to best utilize your mobile quarterback. Nack's former high school coach and Eagles head coach both coached at Cavalry Academy in Shreveport. Gary, that's some good information. Thank you. Hearns is a huge letdown. Yeah, you can cut Hearns at the end of the year. He's gone. I don't care about him. You can also cut a couple other guys, but I don't want to dig dudes' graves until after the season. Defense is there, absolutely. I like when they tried to use Lewis just to show that they are trying to be more creative. One thing that I do have to give the Cowboys coaching staff credit for is using him in passing situations to cover Alvin Kamara. Because not enough teams are going in dime to do that. That was huge. He was on the field for 8 defensive snaps last night. He almost had 2 interceptions. Had an interception and was sticky against Alvin Kamara. Jordan Lewis was huge in that game last night. Jordan Lewis, somebody who should be playing more football on that defense, but he doesn't fit Chris Richard's scheme. Anthony Brown, Chidobe Awuzie, Byron Jones, all very good corners, so I'm okay with it. Steven, I apologize. Yes, Tony as a QB coach would be great. Seeing where he came from, but what I'm saying is I wouldn't leave a broadcasting job to coach. Longer hours. As a QB coach, definitely less pay. I mean, you might get some side money from Jerry, but he might be doing that already. He's like family. But that's all I got for tonight. I think that your Dallas Cowboys are going to win this division. I think that things are still trending up. You just want a slugfest against the best football team in the NFL. If you didn't believe that this team was